experiencing physical discordance or you are having emotional issues or bumping up against the same limiting belief system, I'm here to tell you there is an energetic distortion. Bottom line, bottom line. And the chakra system is involved.
Yeah.
So the good news is that you have the capacity to heal yourself. And that is, again, I wouldn't be here if this healing aspect of cleansing, clearing, charging, releasing discordances didn't work. I wouldn't be
Mhm.
having this conversation with you, B.
You're listening to Practical Spirituality with B, the podcast with spiritual advice for your everyday life, helping you align with your soul so you can live with purpose, fulfillment, and magic. I'm Bernadette Logue. You can call me B, and I'm excited to share this episode with you.
Welcome everyone to the podcast today. I've got a special guest with me, my new friend from a mutual connection who I met recently, Dr. Mary Sanders, joining us from Colorado. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you so much, B. It is sincerely my honor to get to be connected with you again. I enjoyed our time the last time that we connected on the podcast. So it's my honor to be here today. Thank you.
Yeah, and I love this cross-pollination of goodness because you work in a whole different area to me, but we have kindred passions and values. So I got a chance to come and speak with your community, and it's just a treasure to have you come and share wisdom that you have that's fascinating to me. So I know it's going to be fascinating to everyone that's with us. So quick heads up, our topic is going to be chakras. And this is something that I just talked to you before we started recording, saying that like I know a little about it and I kind of do my own chakra energy work, but a lot of people have asked me about it. And so this feels like a synchronistic blessing that you're here to enlighten us about this topic. So I'm going to share a little bit about you for people that don't know you in terms of where you come from. So with over 30 years of experience as a chiropractor and medical intuitive, Dr. Mary helps people thrive in health, happiness, and purpose through three things specifically: energy medicine, spiritual embodiment, and meditation. She's also the host of the Energy Medicine podcast, where they discuss all things aligning the mind, body, and spirit. She's also got a free gift for you, which we'll let you know about right now. And again, you'll find the link below the video to get that. And that is at her website, drmarysanders.com. That meditation sounds so fabulous. I'm pretty sure I've downloaded it already. And if I haven't, I will be. A meditation to guide you back to your authentic self. So, welcome again. We're going to be talking chakras. You said to me, let's talk chakras unveiled, the hidden path to body wisdom. So, do you want to just dive in and crack open this juicy pot of goodness with regards to all things chakras?
Absolutely, absolutely. Before we get started, I want to share with the listener that my unveiling, if you will, my discovery of the chakra system has been a path, a journey of my own personally. And now I feel so honored to be able to hold space for others in their healing transformation. I want to acknowledge that all the listeners are coming from a place in which you've been on this journey. You've had years of experience to better understand yourself, in some way, to better understand the subtle energetic body that surrounds us and runs within us. You don't come from a place in which you are fractured or broken. You come from a place that is completely whole. You are integrative as a beautiful spirit living in his or her human home. So, with all of that, let's start with the idea, the notion that the energetic body comes before the physical body. Meaning that as we were in utero, we started the cellular division, the mitosis, the meiosis that happens when the sperm connects into the egg. It literally is all based upon polarity and electromagnetic frequencies. So we come from light, sound, vibration. That's what creates the essence of our being. And then something really magical happens is that the whole neural tube that creates the central nervous system then forms secondarily. Then comes the physical body after the energetic body. So once we can all agree upon that premise, and I know that some of you may be thinking, I'm not sure if I'm buying into that yet. So just hang on. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So we live within our physical body. We live through various different adverse experiences, whether they be micro traumas or whether they be major traumas. And what ends up happening is that when we go through these adverse reactions, whether it's a single event or multiple events, we absorb the energy through our biofield. It penetrates the layers of the biofield and then ultimately gets assimilated within the chakra system. And within the chakra system, it then gets integrated into the endocrine system, which produces the hormones, and it gets integrated into the nervous system. And then what ends up happening, it gets stored. If those traumas are not processed emotionally, let's say you don't have the space or the capacity or the awareness, it gets stored within the physical tissue. Okay? Now, all of us have lived life long enough to know that we have various different ways that our physical body talks to us. Maybe we have chronic inflammation. Maybe we suffer from low back pain, neck pain, headaches. Maybe we have consistent gut issues. We can address those issues, from a conventional medical model, an allopathic model, which just treats the symptom, but we're not addressing the original discordance, which happened within the energetic body. So to take a truly integrative approach, we get to address the mind, body, and spirit within each and every single one of us. Now, I want to just lay the foundation, and B, I know you're going to have questions, so I'll just stop there and open it up. Ask away.
Okay, perfect. So what I'm hearing is like that it's almost like the energy system is the receiver, is like it's not just it came first, so linear timeline. It came first, then came physical body. I mean, I think probably a lot of people in my community would be like, yeah, word, I hear that. That's totally true. I'm getting that, Dr. Mary. Like you're about 30 years experience, you're a trained professional, you're highly educated. I get it. But then what was really interesting is you're talking about when we go through things in life, we're in our physical body, we're walking around, we know we're spirit, we're in the body, we know we've got an energy field, but the energy field is what is receiving these experiences, and that is what is like a pathway in, or it's got a connection to these actual physical parts of our human system, our health system that we do relate to and we do know about. What's really interesting is that when I've read about chakras and I know about chakras, it's like, okay, I can name my chakras. I know where they are. We'll talk about that, I'm sure. And I know that if my chakras are blocked, it's going to mimic into my physical body. And if something's in my physical body, it's going to mimic into my chakras. And one of the questions, and it's pretty much the only big question that I had with 5 big question marks next to it on my notes, is which came first, the chicken or the egg? Is it that our chakras get blocked and messed up and imbalanced, and then it mirrors into the physical body, or we have something happen in the physical body and that also then matches back to and affects our chakras, and then it becomes a really discordant and unhealthy relationship? Does this make sense, this question?
Yes, it absolutely does. You're asking which one came first, the chicken or the egg, I believe. And so from my lens, from my perspective as a medical intuitive, There had to have been some kind of a violation of an environmental source that penetrated through the various layers of the auric field, which then came in and created a distortion within the chakra system. Okay. Now, let's take a look that we understand that most of us realize that surrounding us is a beautiful electromagnetic toric field that creates a polarity. And what ends up happening is that the chakra development in embryo is that the chakras each have an individual spin, an individual frequency. And as these chakras develop, once we're on this physical plane and we go through life's developmental stages, these chakras develop and create a spin, which then creates the layers of our biofield. So when we experience something in life, we have on some subconscious or conscious level have agreed to allow that energy to penetrate through the various different auric layers. Okay. So it can come in gradually or it can slice in. So your
Mhm.
auric field, if it is not protected properly, can have holes, tears, perforations. It can have slices. It can be frayed. And so once an energy comes in and comes in and comes in and comes in through the various different layers, it then is assimilated within the chakra system. So there's a spin that is associated with each individual chakra that allows and integrates the information, and then it chooses how you are going to express your energy, your life force energy back into the world.
Mm.
So it's a two-way delivery system. But you're saying, your question is which one came first, the chicken or the egg? And so we're saying that the energy system was perforated first before there is a discordance within the energetic body.
Got it.
Now, if we run this system over, and it's insidious, it happened over time. You just didn't wake up and have some kind of a physical ailment or to have some kind of emotional or limiting belief system. These things happen over time, and then you ultimately believe that this is the truth within your own tissues. So you start to express this out into the world. And what happens if you're expressing it out into the world? You're electromagnetically attracting more situations that validate the truth to you.
Mm.
So
This
it
is
can
so
show
good,
up.
so fascinating.
Oh,
Yeah,
juicy
because
stuff.
like at a really like so keeping that really super simple then for the lay person language. So for example, stepping even further back to a chakra as an energy center. So can you even just go back to like we have chakras, where they are on the body and what they are? They're spinning energy centers, right? That run down our body. So if that in case anyone listening hasn't heard of what a chakra is, they understand. And then I've got a couple of other questions.
Sure, 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 sure. I won't go into the complexity. I'm just going to keep this at a very superficial level. I will make reference to the seven lower energy centers, which essentially are vortices. They are circles of energy that lie outside of our physical body and penetrate into our physical body. And there's seven lower energy centers that associate most intimately connected to the physical body. Okay. Now, keep in mind, as I am describing the location and the themes and the corresponding endocrine glands, please understand that there's a front and a back energy center that are connected to a vertical power current, which is also known as the Sushumna channel. For those of you that are yogis out there listening, or the central channel, you will also hear it referenced as that as well. And so essentially, the first energy center, which is located deep within the pelvic bowl, is most intimately known as the first chakra, and it is connected into the adrenal system. The themes associated with this energy center are most often related to your security, your
Mhm.
safety. So when somebody is fear driven, or if life has taught them that it is not safe, then that chakra is going to become distorted. So it's not uncommon for people that have adrenal insufficiencies to have difficulty connecting and grounding, dropping energetic cords from the first chakra down into Mother Earth. The second energy center is located just below the belly button. And this is most intimately connected into creativity. From a neurological perspective or an endocrine perspective, it connects into your reproductive organs, whether it be your ovaries or your testes. And so many people are like, oh, well, yeah, those organs are used to create another life. That is true, but it also connects you with the creativity necessary to manifest your deepest physical desires.
Mm.
The third energy center, most of you listening will recognize it as the solar plexus. It's located above the belly button and underneath the rib cage. This connects into the intimacy of your pancreas, so responsible for the production of insulin. And what we find within this energy center, it's most intimately connected with themes revolving around autonomy, sovereignty, self control, self worth, self love, those kind of self confidence. Those themes revolve around the third energy center. Now, those three lower energy centers are most intimately connected to the physical body that we live in. And then we bridge into the space of our beautiful heart. And this is a connector, right? It connects the physical body and then into the upper three levels of the chakra system, 5, 6, and 7, into the spiritual domain. So what's so beautiful, B, is that this energy has its own toric field. So it has a
It does?
horizontal, yes, it has a horizontal axis that then connects us into this beautiful domain. We all have access to this domain. You know what I'm talking about. The universal love that surrounds all of us.
Yes.
So when we can expand that horizontal axis and connect into the universal love, we're experiencing more self-compassion, compassion for others, our ability to forgive. And in my world, I also see that if you uncover just deep enough, sometimes you can get to the root of perfectionism within that
Mm.
space.
Mm.
As in this energy center is located with an endocrine gland that's active in the first 18 years of life. And that's the thymus gland that's responsible for immune production. And so consequently, that's the endocrine gland. Now, as I mentioned, B, the top three, 5, 6, and 7, 5 is located right within the throat. It's a beautiful energy center that I see so often compromised as we get older in life. This is the energy center in which we find the authentic expression of self,
Mm.
everything that's connected into communication. So imagine that you're raised in a household in which, like, the parental figures are perhaps a little authoritative, and
Mhm.
or you have an alcoholic parent, and they are giving you the messages that you are to be seen and not heard, and that you don't have
Mm.
that voice. That shows up within the fifth chakra and also and so beautifully connected into the thyroid, your ability to metabolize energy, if you will.
Mm.
Yeah, so fascinating. And that can show up as disorders and dysfunction that come from the neck, shoulders, elbows, and wrist.
Mm. I know a lot of
Then,
people who have had that message in their childhood to be seen and not to be
oh,
heard and experience physical throat problems around this whole area. Yeah, that's so fascinating.
It is fascinating, and that was my own personal journey. So, I can go on and on and on about the fifth chakra because it has been the ongoing theme of my life to heal this energy center. So, down to the Hashimoto's that underline the autoimmune
Mm.
deficiencies, where there's an excess of production and your body just doesn't want to absorb or to integrate what it is producing internally. So, and, not to, I will go on to 6, 7, but because you started me on my area of fascination, then this also then does relate genetically from your lineage and your heritage, because oftentimes Hashimoto's or autoimmune
Yes.
disorders are inherited from our ancestors. So that's just a little bit more about the area of the fifth energy center. And then we tap right into the third eye, into the space just above your eyebrows in the center of the forehead. And that's the sixth chakra, which is known for connecting into true seeing and essentially clairvoyance. This
Mhm.
energy center is most intimately connected into the pineal gland, and
Mm.
the pineal gland is responsible for regulating your sleep, regulating the light dark cycles that your body goes through. The pineal gland is a fascinating gland when it comes to understanding different levels of consciousness. I think science is already exploring this region. So I
Mhm.
love the pineal gland. And then located on the top of the head is the seventh chakra, which connects us to all that is present, all the knowledge that we have available for us to assimilate direct knowledge into our awareness. And this is connected into the pituitary gland, which is considered to be the mother of all regulating endocrine systems. So you can see that there is an intimate connection between the chakra system, the endocrine glands, and also the central nervous system. And we get to view it from the lens of quantum biology and quantum neurology to really align those electromagnetic currents that run within us and surround us.
Hmm. So it's like there's so much going on. So, when you're healing, when you're working with people to heal them and they're coming with medical challenges, because I know that a lot of people that are doctors that are working with people in healing modalities and are doing energy medicine, people come with health problems, like wrapped up in that. There's psychological, emotional, spiritual, there's all this stuff. And it's like the health thing is gets addressed, but it unlocks this whole holistic, massive healing journey that is prompted by some physical manifestation, right? And when we're dealing with things at the symptomatic level, people are not getting, they're not getting the healing that they need. And so they're landing with people like yourself. And so, when you're looking at someone from the point of view of holistic health and well-being, which includes happiness, right? But they come to you and they've got a health condition and they're like, what is going on with me? Um, do you start with understanding what's going on with their chakras? Do you understand, like, how does it work from like a diagnostic understanding? If someone was to come and do this work, okay, oh, you're talking about my chakras, but also it's my physical body, but also it's my childhood. It's like, how does that, for a really simple picture, how does that look in terms of like figuring out what's going on for people?
I'm so glad that you asked this question, B, because I think all the listeners are asking the same question for themselves. And it's a legitimate question. And for each person that I hold space for in energetic healing as a medical intuitive, it's different. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, I want to remind everybody listening that your physical body is the most dense of all the energetic systems that we have available to us. So, when you are experiencing physical discomfort, know that it's happened over time. So, the healing happens over time. So when somebody comes to me as a new patient, I will do the proper intake. I will ask the right questions in the evaluation. I want to know about your traumas. I want to know about the nutraceuticals. I want to know about your skeletal system, your muscular system, what's happening psychologically within you. What has worked for you in the past? What have not worked for you in the past? What do you intuitively feel is happening? How do you believe it originated? So I believe that the people that come to me asking for assistance already have an
Mm.
intuitive hit as to where this started.
Yes, I agree. Even when people say, I don't know, I'm so confused, it's been going on for decades. But that's the thing where it goes, I don't, people start with, I don't know if this is really related, but, and it'll be some
Mhm,
obscure thing. And it's like, definitely, right? It's that sense and
mhm.
being able to draw that thread. I love that you know that they have that wisdom in them and it's pulling that out. Beautiful.
And so the question then becomes in possibly just asking the right question. And then my question then is to reflect it back to the person and say, well, if you
Mm.
did know, what does your body tell you? So I depend on and I encourage the patient to have and to tap into the somatic intelligence that resides within all of us. The body keeps the score. We all have read that book, but the body will tell us if we listen. And so what ends up happening once we go through and we talk about the intake and the evaluation, and I listen from a place of expansivity. And so then I start to hear from a clairaudient perspective the truth of what happened or where we can, begin to unravel and discover the origin of how this dysfunction, distortion, or discordance began. And so, even if I'm in person or I am working remotely with somebody, the intention from the very beginning is to create a connection, what is called an entrainment. So I set the stage for myself and the person receiving the healing to dial into the same radio station.
Mm-hmm.
So we get the frequencies aligned. I then ask for permission if the person would like to receive a reading and a healing. At that time, if they're comfortable, they grant the permission by signing in, and that is just using their voice to call forth their spirit to guide the healing. Then
Mm.
I sit back and I greet the person spirit to spirit, and I allow their spirit to show me what this person needs in present time to better understand their energetic system, their physical body, their emotions. And it just, a side note, I've developed over the years, and I'll talk about how I develop, if you wish, I am happy to share how I developed this skill, but I'm incredibly clairsentient.
Mhm.
And so what ends up happening for me is that I feel the distortions within my physical body.
You feel their
So
distortions in your body, right?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Yeah.
So I follow these distortion and guide the awareness into the somatic intelligence for the person receiving the healing so that information energy blocks can be softened, loosened,
Mhm.
illuminated, released, repaired, cord, being disconnected, those healings, memories being released, aligning and accepting new ways of being to release any and all discordant energy which no longer serves us in present time. So that we can
Yes.
become more full of ourselves and align energetically, truly align with how we are intended to be on this physical planet
Really.
with
Because
source.
like
And
a
so
lot of this is like we know we the 3D reality, I always call it a very convincing illusion. It's like it's very easy to get lost in. I know this physical thing because it's in front of me. I see it in the mirror. It's like I can see my meat suit. I've got a thing. I've got a cut. I've got a stomach upset. I feel it. Like okay, I need to go and do the thing and buy the thing from the doctor and take the thing and everything will be okay. But there's like there is increasingly now, but it's like this magical unseen truth of who we are and how we function. And it's not some spiritual woo-woo thing. It's literally the absolute factual truth of our measurable, right, bioenergetic field and our energy system and all of this. And it's, if we are not, like, it just blows my mind in a not good way that this is not completely and totally integrated into our healthcare system.
It's coming.
It's
It's coming.
coming.
I'm
And
hoping.
it's seeping in. And
Yes.
it's moving in.
Yes.
It's moving in. And so many smart, incredible, talented, amazing doctors that are doing it, whether they've come out and they're doing it on their own, or they've come out, they're going back in doing it, or they're doing it inside wherever they are. But it's so vital. It's like the most important starting point of information to understand, right? And so can you tell me, for you, because just before you said you could talk about where you came from and how you came to this, I was thinking to myself, I wonder how she came to this other than your own experience. Like, what got you into in healthcare and studying and training in chiropractic in the first place? And then how did that evolve to medical intuitive work?
Okay. So here is my disclaimer. I really thought, from an ego-driven perspective, that I was in control as to what I chose to study in my profession as I show up in this physical world. It's not how it happens. Not how it happens. So follow this. I chose to come into this world being hearing impaired. I have a 50% hearing impairment. It went undiagnosed until the age of 3. I didn't get my first single hearing aid until maybe 4.5, 5. I can't exactly remember. But I spent the first at least 3 years living in this physical planet, living on this physical planet, so intimately connected to the spiritual realm. I just couldn't decide if I wanted to be there or if I wanted to be here. And at some point in time, I had to make an agreement with my spirit that I wholeheartedly wanted to be in this physical plane because I loved my family.
Mm.
And so I made that agreement. I was going to stay here. And so, to make a long story short, I knew at a very, very, very young age that I received information and that I knew that I was going to and was destined to have my hands on physical bodies. I just knew it because the information that I was receiving, now, we can all say we have our traditional 5 senses. And if we are compromised in any of those traditional 5 senses, it's my belief system that we will then tap into awarenesses of receiving information above and beyond the traditional 5 senses.
Mhm.
So out of the mechanism of survival, out of the necessity for survival, I developed the awareness of being incredibly clairsentient so I could physically feel what's happening within an environment, what's happening emotionally within another person, and my psychometry was spot on. My psychometry as to what I feel from my hands does not lie. And
Mm.
so that, coupled with being raised in an environment with an alcoholic father and both overachieving parents, I knew, even though I couldn't hear my father enter the garage door, I could sense the energetic shift from my entire family when he came into the house. So I learned that was my mechanism of survival. And so
Mm.
then I still was tapping into the spiritual world and was receiving, spontaneous clairvoyant information and direct knowing. And I was raised in a Catholic family. So that got really, really hushed very early on. Like, you can't possibly know this information.
Mhm.
And so life happened. I went through my childhood and young adolescent years, and I still would receive information occasionally, but that was not my primary way of receiving information. So, to make a long story short, because of my hearing impairment and I was mainstreamed in education, I became very early on an overachiever. My
Mhm.
family was such that, we all lived in this white picket fence house. We had that perfect little family and the projection of it. So, of course, in this perfect little family, there couldn't be a hearing impaired person. So she was slightly hearing impaired, but she was within the normal society. So I became a perfectionist, overly driven, motivated individual. I was the youngest of three girls. So I academically excelled and I went through undergraduate school, got my degrees, chemistry, zoology, everything there. 3 days after, I landed in the field or I landed in chiropractic school. So I did have enough gumption to go and say, yeah, I still need to have my hands on people. That much I know is true.
Mhm.
And so once I was in chiropractic school, something magically began to happen. People were talking about the innate intelligence that resides within each and every single one of us, that we as humans have the ability to heal ourselves from above down, inside out. And that, oh, yeah, you do receive information, subtle information through your hand, and you deliver energy through your hands. So you can imagine, I was like, "Yes, I'm home, I'm home."
Yeah.
Oh, it was so refreshing. So let's fast forward. We're going to take 22 years of business. My overdriven, highly achieving self took over, and I created an excessive burnout. I crashed energetically, physically, emotionally, spiritually. I crashed. So, my husband and I ran to the other side of the world. I woke up one day after selling all of my earthly possessions in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. So, here I am in Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, having a serious crisis as to who
Mhm.
am I? What am I doing here? And why am I still here? And so I
Yeah.
did what any logical person would do. I ran to Bali, Indonesia. And I finished my YTT, right, right, I'm sane. I know what I'm doing. So then I finished up my YTT, and I had, for the first time in my life as an adult, time to sink back in and to connect to my
Mhm.
physical body and to better understand my energetic body. And so I came back to Vietnam and fell in love with meditation. And so from meditation, it led me to study positive psychology with Dr. Tobin Shahar in upstate Lenox, Massachusetts. And so I would fly from Ho Chi Minh City to New York. I would do the class, come back, and, again, I'm like, oh my God, the neuroscience behind meditation is fabulous.
Yep.
Fabulous. Like, all of a sudden, I'm better understanding. I knew the body incredibly well from the neck on down with my chiropractic training. Now I'm starting to understand what's happening in the space between the ears and the neurology of the brain, and
Mhm.
better understanding how limiting belief systems occur, and better understanding why there are certain people, the 20% of the population, that just does not respond to conventional treatment. And so then, as fate has it we left Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, and then traveled to Bogota, Colombia. And it was there that I created a nonprofit organization to teach teachers the tools of positive psychology so that they could embody them in the classroom and teach mindfulness to kids.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Oh my God, beautiful. All I'm hearing in the background is this woman is living her soul journey. She is doing her soul alignment. She is like, I'm just loving all of this. Carry on, carry on. We're in Colombia. We're doing
So
the
it
same.
just Oh, my ego, God bless, fought it, right? Because here I am, I'm like, okay, so whatever. I fought it. Let's just put it there.
Yeah.
And then, so we then life happened. Two pivotal things happened in my life. My mother passed away from non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. My sister then passed away due to drugs and
Mhm.
alcohol. And there were some really energetic Ah, life experiences, we all have them, but life taught me that we are so intimately connected energetically with those people that we love. And so at that time, my husband's like, just do it. just go back to energy school, just do it because that's clearly what life is guiding you to do. And so I enrolled in the Academy of Intuition Medicine in Sausalito, California, while we were living in Cartagena, Colombia. And then we decided to go and travel Europe and backpack travel, literally taking care of people's pets and living in their homes.
Mhm.
And I was like, how am I going to learn this information from a distance? And so that's what strengthened, once again, my psychometry and my clairsentience to be able to hold space for receiving intuition on behalf of the highest, the highest frequency of the person that I'm holding
Mm.
in holding support for. So, it's never linear. I want it to be linear, but
No.
it's never linear.
It
So now
never
I get
is.
to
And
show
we
up.
and we have a plan and it never goes to the plan and then the universe has a different plan and somehow these random things happen. They're not random. We get called, but this is just totally fabulous. Like the chakra stuff, all of the stuff you're doing, this journey you've been on, and that it led you to this work. Because it's very clear you're deeply embodied in it. It's very clear as you speak that you are deeply in it and embodied like physically in it. And it's so aligned for you. It's very, very clear. And so, what if people are thinking, I don't like, or how do I make sure I'm just thinking, like, if I was listening to this and I didn't know, I'd be like, sure my chakras are okay. How do I make sure they're
Yeah.
not like all out of balance or like disrupted? Or is that my problem? I've been having problems. Is that my problem? That's what people, we hear things and we're like, I don't know anything about this. Maybe that's my problem. Like, what would you say to someone that's thinking that?
Well, first and foremost, if you are having that internal dialogue with yourself, chances are, and you are experiencing physical discordance, or you are having emotional issues, or bumping up against the same limiting belief system, I'm here to tell you there is an energetic distortion. Bottom line, bottom line. And the chakra system is involved.
Yeah.
So the good news is that you have the capacity to heal yourself. And that is, again, I wouldn't be here if this healing aspect of cleansing, clearing, charging, releasing discordances didn't work. I wouldn't be
Mm,
having this conversation with you, B. So
mm,
I'm not saying that all of you listening, and I had to go through this experience, so I think it's worth discovering. I was taught how to spin my chakras for the
mm,
purpose of cleansing. And so I was told to spin my chakras every day in the morning. I did. And not only did I do that, in my overachieving mind, I was like, let's open all these energy centers 100%. And let me tell you something, that is a recipe for disaster. That's
disaster. Yeah.
absolutely a recipe for disaster for a highly sensitive or even just a normal person.
Yeah.
We are
Yeah.
designed energetically to respond to our environment, and it is our right to calibrate our energy centers based upon
Mm,
the environment that we find ourselves in. So it's like a muscle. So for example, let's take Thanksgiving meal at my house, which is like my least favorite meal of the year. Let's
mhm,
take that environment when you're sitting across the table from an incredibly judgmental person who sees life in a black and white kind of an environment. I choose to narrow down the aperture of my second chakra. So I'm not receiving this. I am protecting myself. And which always happens every single stinking Thanksgiving, I get triggered. And so then I have to say, I have to recognize what it feels like to be triggered within my own body. And then I have to say, excuse me, I need to excuse myself from the table. I need to use the restroom. I'll be back in a moment. And then I go into the restroom. I look at myself in the mirror. I re-auto calibrate my second chakra. And then I go back to the dinner table.
mm.
So it is something that you can learn to exercise over time.
Yeah. Yeah, indeed. I remember this very thing because I trained in theta healing really, really early on in my journey when it was one of the things that kind of started my awakening. And I remember learning how to balance my chakras, and I could feel like I can feel other people's energy in my body. I can feel my chakras. It's like my body locks down if it's tight and it's blocked, and I can feel it moving. And I remember I was a real overachiever, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to do this every single day, and I'm going to open them all up." And then I had to straight. So I was kind of like giggling when you were saying that. That same sensation of recognizing that that's not actually it's not actually how we're meant to do it. Right. So it is something that's very simple to learn and go and inquire about and understand. Do you have any resources on your own podcast about things like managing your energy and or on your website people can access? They can go to your website and they're going to be able to go to drmarysanders.com/meditations. That's where they're going to get a free gift, a meditation to come home to your authentic self. But other than anything else you would recommend in your resources?
B, I would encourage the listeners to start there with that free audio. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason that I like this is that I simplified it into three meditations. One that increases, it's all about grounding, increases your connection into Mother Earth, checking in with the Schumann resonance to really fill your energetic system up with Earth energy. It's nurturing, it's
I love
saturating, it's
that. Oh,
healing,
I'm
it's
getting that. Oh, I'm
rejuvenating.
downloading after this call.
Yeah, it's super yummy, super yummy.
Okay.
And then what I teach is a neutral separations meditation where it teaches you to gift back the energy of those people that you've shared space with in the given day to be able to then receive your energy back. So I love neutral separations because that allows you to kind of cleanse part of the energetic hygiene that you can do on a daily basis to protect yourself and to strengthen your energy system.
Oh,
And
yes,
then I believe the
definitely do
third
that.
meditation focuses on the energy centers of really deeply rooting us in present time so that we can lessen the amount of anxiety and the depression that people feel. So
Mm. I
start
love
there.
that.
And then,
That's super,
yeah.
super powerful. And also they can go to your podcast, what if the energy medicine podcast with Dr. Mary Sanders. So that's where they can also tune in and have deeper understanding and follow along with you as you continue sharing your wisdom. This is so beautiful. If you were to leave people with anything in particular about their health, well-being, and happiness and their energy body, what would you say to them?
I would invite you to be gentle with yourself in the process of the healing journey because these distortions did not happen overnight and they will not be released overnight. So, coming from a place of love and compassion for self, and then truly allowing the time so that your spirit can then sink back in to be fully embodied in his or her human home, so that that is when the greatest healing and the transformations occur.
I love that. And I think there's a lot of people that feel a lot of pressure on themselves to get the fix. And that if I'm not getting healed, like, oh, I read on this website that someone else got healed immediately and I'm not. And it's like, I must be doing something wrong. And why is this taking so long? And I think it is because just this real gentleness with ourselves and grace to say, I like this is a like it doesn't matter what you say, you can't get around it. It's a journey. You get born, you spend an amount of time here, your body dies, gets laid aside, and you go home. And in between, it's a journey. And it doesn't matter if it's a journey of relationships or a physical health and healing or a contribution or whatever it is. There is not a place we're trying to get to. It's this all along the way. And I think there's something rich inside the moments of taking graceful, peaceful gentleness with ourselves when we're doing healing and learning. Is that in each of those moments, even if we're sitting with ourselves and we don't have answers, and there is physical symptoms or psychological, emotional symptoms, is being in touch with that is we're holding space for our own selves. There's something very sacred and beautiful with sitting with yourself alone, maybe in a dark room, and just hand on heart and hand on belly and just sit with yourself. It's been a very rare thing for a lot of people to experience that. And even that is a gift and a beautiful thing no matter how long it takes to get the results we want, quotations, right, is really, really sacred, beautiful little moments in this journey. I'm so grateful to know you. This was endlessly fascinating.
Oh, thank you so much. And I just cannot express enough gratitude to be how you are showing up in the world, utilizing and aligning with your strengths and holding sacred space for others in their healing journey. As you said at the very beginning, you and I have common threads as to what our intentions
Mm,
are. And yet there are differences in complementary aspects as well. So thank you so
yeah.
much.
Beautiful, beautiful. Kindred spirit, also being nomadic like me. So we have lots of funny little awesome things in common. And I hope to meet you one day there in Colorado when I visit next time. I told you I've got
And we're
family
gonna
and friends there. We're gonna go for a hike, right? Let's go hiking.
we are absolutely I'll take you to a shungite art.
Ooh, that sounds amazing. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to meet you in person one day. I hope everyone listening has enjoyed the session as much as I have and soaked up this wisdom. Please go and visit Dr. Mary at drmarysanders.com. Download your meditations there at /meditations and check out the podcast, the Energy Medicine Podcast. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening to Practical Spirituality with B. I'll talk to you next episode for more spiritual advice for your everyday life, helping you align with your soul so you can live with purpose, fulfillment, and magic.